Shedeur Sanders will start in the Browns preseason opener tomorrow night against the Panthers, and this game is make or break for Shedeur Sanders as he battles 4 other quarterbacks for the Browns quarterback job. And I got a very, very special show for you folks today. Cleveland Browns beat writer for Cleveland.com, and she's a Pro Football Hall of Fame selector. Mary Kay Cabot joins the show to break down the stakes for Shedeur Sanders as he starts the Browns preseason opener tomorrow. We're going to discuss that. We're also going to discuss whether the Browns will roster 4 quarterbacks. They also brought in Tyler Huntley, which is a little bit confusing to me. We're going to discuss that as well. But to begin today's show, we're going to talk all things North Carolina Tar Heels football with my main man, North Carolina Tar Heels writer Lee Pace, who's been covering UNC for 30-plus years. He joins the show to discuss Bill Belichick and UNC football, as well as Gio Lopez, South Alabama transfer quarterback's potential as a starter over there in Chapel Hill. I also want to discuss Michael Lombardi, the general manager over there, his impact on Bill Belichick and the UNC Tar Heels football program. This and more here on The Other Side. Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Bailey Price Media Live. Today, I got a very, very special show for you. UNC Tar Heels writer Lee Pace joins the show, as well as Cleveland Browns beat writer Mary Kay Cabot joins the show as well. In the second half of the show, if you're watching, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, become a member of the Bailey Price Media Army today. We already got people in the chat. Mike Bundy, Josh Hesh, Michael Dixon, what up? It's going to be a great show here on this fine Thursday. Without further ado, I'm not going to waste this man's time. This man's a veteran in the game and covering the Tar Heels for 30-plus years. My main man, North Carolina Tar Heels writer Lee Pace joins the show. Lee, happy Thursday. I can't thank you enough for joining. How you doing?
Oh, glad to be here, Bailey. I appreciate it. We can just expand this the whole hour. I don't think anybody's really interested in the Browns, are they? We can just talk. We just talk Tar Heel and Carolina football here for the whole time.
My man, Lee. Man, Browns got all kinds of quarterback issues that a lot of people are really interested in, including Deion Sanders' son. But Lee, I can't wait to talk Tar Heels football with you, my man. And I wanted to start it off this way. I saw you made a post on Twitter showing Keenan Field what it looked like the last time the Tar Heels won the ACC championship. I wanted to ask you, and Bill Belichick's first year, and just in general, what do the Tar Heels have to do to get back to that, get back to winning an ACC championship? I feel as though this year in the ACC, with the exception of Clemson, it's pretty wide open. What are your thoughts?
Well, nobody knows exactly what to expect when Carolina takes the field against Texas Christian. They've got 70 new players. That's 7-0. That's almost impossible to absorb. How many new faces and places and everything. So I'm just kind of sitting back, just taking it all in. I'm not crunching the players as much as I am just the overall big picture process. And this photo is emblematic of, I think, of one of the major storylines of the first 8-9 months that Bill Belichick has been in Chapel Hill is going back to, number one, his affection for his father's career, and the fact that Steve Belichick was here for 3 years in the mid-1950s, that Bill was here as a toddler at that time, and Bill's love of history. He has very much embraced and has a keen interest in the history of Carolina football, which honestly has surprised me a little bit. He has had more of an interest in that than any head coach in some time, probably going back to John Bunting 20 years ago, and Bunting was a former player himself. But Bill has embraced the culture. He and Michael Lombardi together, they have talked about the history of the program. They have marveled over the great players that have been through here, from um, Julius Peppers to Lawrence Taylor to more recently Drake May, Sam Howell, players like that, and said Carolina has had so many great players, but not enough great teams or great eras. So that's what they're trying to build. And the reason I just posted that photo yesterday was because I got a query from somebody in the grounds staff over in the athletic department saying if I knew how the field was decorated in 1980, which was the last year Carolina won the ACC. They've also looked into ordering uniforms of that early 1980s era as kind of a throwback. So
Mhm.
those are just a couple little things that indicate history is important to Belichick and his staff, and they're embracing it and want to build on it.
Absolutely. And before I move forward, you mentioned that it surprised you that Bill Belichick is really embracing the history of the University of North Carolina. Why did it surprise you?
Uh, well, never having covered the Patriots, not knowing him that well, uh, you just wouldn't have expected it. But he
Absolutely.
does. He has taken a keen interest in it. In fact, his about five the ground floor of the Keenan Football Center used to be a museum area, and it was for about 20 years until 5 years ago the decision was made that this museum, this display of history, does not appeal to teenagers and
Hmm.
um, the recruiting world today. So it was revamped. It became brighter, lighter, more modern. A lot of great graphics, but it did not embrace history. So Belichick has come in with Lombardi, and Bill has even been. He found out where all that memorabilia was stored in one of the catacomb areas of the football center, and has personally been down there plowing through some of it just to find interesting little pieces of memorabilia. And one thing he found was an old torn Carolina blue number 22 jersey that Charlie Choo Choo Justice wore in the late 40s. And
Really?
Bill pulled it out and has got it in his office as we speak.
Wow, I heard a story about that he was digging into the archives, finding some old memory. That's really cool. That is a
Yeah.
really cool tidbit, Lee. I can't thank you enough for sharing that. You brought up Bill Belichick and Lombo. He was just on a show that I'm a producer of the Coach JB show. He just made an appearance there. But I wanted to ask you about his impact on Bill Belichick and the North Carolina Tar Heels football program as general manager so far. You mentioned they brought in over 70 players. I mean that speaks to the era of college football we're in today with the transfer portal, NIL, and et cetera. But what has his impact been on Bill Belichick and the Tar Heels program so far? And then obviously discuss their history going back to New England.
Well, a couple things, Bailey. I mean, number one, this is the first time that this kind of structure and personnel hierarchy has been done, certainly here at Carolina and probably elsewhere in college football. I mean, they are very bold in saying we want to be the 33rd NFL team or a reasonable facsimile of it. And part of that structure is having a head coach and having a general manager. And so now Lombardi has an enormous amount of power, a lot of sway. He is over a budget that is now an NIL budget that is now on at least in the ballpark on par with other colleges around the country. So they have the resources, and so it's the amount of time it takes to process and go through the transfer portal, high school recruiting. It's more than a coach can do. So I think the structure is terrific, and these two guys have got history together. This is you might kind of look a little sideways if they had never worked together, but boy, they've got a lot of history together. And one of the cool stories that came out when Belichick took the job in December is Lombardi talked about how they had visited Carolina in the early 90s when they were both on the Cleveland Browns staff. And Bill was the head coach, Lombardi was the GM, and they came scouting and came on a spring week. When there were baseball games and co-eds out about in halter tops and, a lot of beer drinking, a lot of fun, and just a typical spring in Chapel Hill. And, he just talked about what a great atmosphere was and that it was always kind of in the back of both their minds of, what a cool place Chapel Hill is and what a neat place it would be to live. And, that started the thought of This place has had a lot of great teams, a lot of great players, but it's just never been a consistent national contender. Going back to Bill Dooley, Dick Crum, Butch Davis, Mac Brown 1, Mac Brown 2, Larry Fedora, going 11-1 in 2015.
Yeah.
Every head coach here has dabbled in success, but just hasn't been able to really get it to the very top and keep it there.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think one of the biggest things that you mentioned with Lombardi's impact on Belichick is they're running a professional organization. You just mentioned it. I mean, they brought in 70 plus players, which is insanity. But this is, I mean, it doesn't shock me. Let me just say that. Now, what sets them and Michael Lombardi apart from other general managers in college football, in your opinion? Because I don't think every college football program is being run as a complete professional organization, as UNC in particular is with Lombardi and then Belichick as head coach.
Well, I certainly think his resume and where he's been, having worked under Bill Walsh at San Francisco, Al Davis in Oakland and Vegas, and just that experience with Bill over the years. He knows the NFL, he knows personnel. Made some. He made an interesting point this spring at the high school coaches clinic. One day he was talking about evaluating film and the nuances of that, and saying how he disliked watching highlight tapes because the only thing you see on a highlight tape are highlights. He
Hmm.
wants to see how a kid reacts after getting stoned, in the face. How he reacts getting off the ground, how he reacts when things are not going well, and you never see those on highlight tape. So that's, I thought that was one of more little interesting nuances to studying tape. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, so far the returns are excellent. They're recruiting well, really doing well with the 26 class. Just the last week have been several high-profile four-star flops from other programs, and they got the best quarterback in the state in Bryce Baker. For this class, Bryce is now a freshman here, and
Yeah.
they've got a commitment from Travis Burgess, a highly regarded quarterback from Georgia, for next year. So it's all going well, and it's the grand experiment here at Chapel Hill to see if Carolina can um, get in the fray with the best in college football, and all starting in a little less than a month.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. You brought up the quarterback positions. One of my favorite acquisitions for you guys this offseason, this was kind of a late pickup for you guys, but South Alabama quarterback Gio Lopez, he played as a freshman for South Alabama under Major Applewhite last season. I thought he had a really, really good season. He comes up, transfers. You guys got multiple lefties on the roster, which I think is interesting for Bill Belichick, at least. You got him, Brad Johnson, son Mac Johnson, and several others. How do you feel about Gio Lopez's potential this season if he wins the starting job?
Nothing but good stuff out of Gio Lopez so far. He was tagged by the media staff to be one of the four players to go to Charlotte for ACC Media Days 2 weeks ago. So that is quite an endorsement himself. Teammates really like him, have taken to him. He's a good leader. He's a good team guy. He's athletic, can do a lot of different things. Carolina has gotten used to over 5 of the last 6 years to having the prototypical drop back quarterback in a Sam Howell and in a Drake May, and that's certainly not what he is. But he can make plays with his feet. He's nimble, can make plays after contact. So it's going to be interesting to see how it evolves. I would think if Carolina were lining up tomorrow, he would probably be the starter. But Brad Johnson or Max Johnson is in the mix, and at practice Saturday, Johnson was out there in full speed for the first time. He was very limited back in the spring. It was quite a devastating injury he had back in the season opener against Minnesota last year. But to go from the possibility of a leg being amputated to go through the 6 surgeries that he did to now back full speed, helmet and shoulder pads, it's quite a story.
No, it really is, and that's why I really think him coming back, it's going to be one hell of a quarterback competition in Chapel Hill with him and Gio. Before I let you go, Lee, I can't thank you enough for joining. 2 questions. Well, let's look at UNC's schedule real quick because I think their schedule is actually pretty favorable for them. How do you feel about North Carolina's schedule going into the season, and then the ACC? How do you feel about them in the ACC?
Well, that TCU game that's going to be a very tough opener. That is a veteran team. They've played
Yep.
together a lot. They've got a lot of good players, and I think they probably learned from 2 years ago having to open against Deion Sanders in Colorado and all the media circles around that. So that's going to be fascinating. Charlotte and Richmond certainly on paper will be games Carolina is favored in. Central Florida, you don't know what
Scott
they
Frost,
might
who
have.
knows?
I
Yeah.
mean, that's an unknown. And then you get to Clemson. So that's going to be an all-world game when Clemson comes to Chapel Hill in
Oh, yeah.
early October.
hmm when you look at the ACC from a whole, is Clemson your presumptive winner? I think they'd have, in my opinion, they have to be. I'm pretty high on them. What about you?
Yeah, until proven otherwise, I think Clemson has to be the guys. Carolina does not play SMU. Um,
Yeah.
did not play SMU last year and did not play SMU this coming year. So Carolina's gotten a break with not having to face them. Do not play Florida State or Miami this year. So absolutely, I do think that the schedule sets up, but it schedule aside, it all gets back to how good is the team going to be, and there's just so many unanswered questions about that. But is the one thing Carolina people are looking for is a team that can get off the field on third down because
Mhm.
that has not happened in a long time.
And yeah, that would be huge. What are your expectations for Coach Belichick in year one? Is it bowl game or is it 8 wins? What are your expectations for Coach Belichick?
Um, I Bailey, I would not put it in wins and losses. I would put it number one, be better on defense. Carolina has just been awful the last X number of years,
Yeah.
averaging giving up around 30 points a game the last few years. Be solid in the kicking game and special teams. Tar Heels have been hounded by block punts the last few years. Make good late game decisions, not be perceived as being out of shape. Um,
Mm.
that is there was a lot of perception of Carolina being soft and out of shape the last couple of years. I don't necessarily buy into that, but the
Mm.
perception was there. And I mean, we've already seen in spring ball and in early fall practice that this team is going to be physical during practice. They are going to tackle. They're going to go to the ground. They're going to roll the dice if injuries if injuries occur. That simply may happen. But they want to build a tough team. And Lombardi and Belichick have said from the beginning, we want to build a smart, tough team, build it from the inside out, and a team that'll wear you down in the fourth quarter inside the trenches. So if Carolina can make progress along those lines, regardless of the number of wins, I think it'll be a successful year.
Yeah, and one thing, if they can get off the field defensively, if they can run the ball and be gritty, kind of restore potentially kind of a Patriot way at Chapel Hill,
Yeah.
I mean, shoot, that's really, in my opinion, what is going to pay best for them this season. Because I mean, like you mentioned, the opener against TCU, they got Hoover, the quarterback. I know it's a well-coached team coming from the Big 12. That's going to be a test. Clemson, I mean, it's a lot of question marks going to Central Florida, and who knows what they'll look like. There's a lot of question marks for UNC, but I think if they're well coached, play defense, and can run the ball, I think it's going to go a long way for Coach Belichick and the Tar
I
Heels.
agree.
And like you mentioned, they're on fire right now in the class of 26 in recruiting. I've been seeing them land all kinds of commit in the last week or so. You can just mention the Michael Lombardi effect, so to speak. I think is paying and going a long way. Lee, it's been an absolute honor having you on my show, getting your perspective on the Tar Heels. You've been covering the Tar Heels for a long time. Getting your perspective has been an absolute honor. Love to have you on again, man. Thank you for joining.
Good, Bailey. Thanks a lot. Enjoy the visit. Take care.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining. Shout out to Lee Pace. Been covering the North Carolina Tar Heels for 30 plus years. That's a perspective that I'm honored to have on this show. Can't thank him enough for joining. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe. That is a great perspective on the Tar Heels. Makes me pretty optimistic for UNC. They definitely have a test in week one against TCU, but goddamn, if they can play some defense, run the ball, I think they're going to smack TCU in the mouth. So that's something to watch. If you're watching, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe. We got all kinds of members in the chat: Gorjon, Mike Bundy, Navolia, and several others. I can't thank you enough for tuning in. I wanted to go across some news around the NFL and college football before we bring our special guest, Mary Kay Cabot, Cleveland Browns beat writer. Can't wait to have her on join the show. This is a clip that I saw at a Cowboy. I've seen a couple clips out of Cowboys training camp I got to address, but this first one is Joe Milton's a freakazoid. I'm just going to say that. Take a look. Oh, wait. Hold on. Wrong clip. Take a look at this. Here's the Joe Milton clip. I don't know. I think a lot of teams would really like to have that. I'm just going to say that right now. I really think a lot of teams are going to really like that. And I'll just say this. It puts pressure on Dak Prescott. I mean, and Jerry Jones is already in the media circus because of Micah Parsons. I guess Micah Parsons wasn't even at practice today. A lot of interesting headlines coming out of Dallas. But when I saw that from Joe Milton, I was like, damn, Joe Milton could sling it now. If you watch this clip, this is a moonball now. Gorjon says, bring on JB's show. I'm sure JB, that would be great. We know how much JB loves the Browns quarterback situation right now. Man, let's move forward here. I wanted to discuss also the other video that I accidentally showed, but I wanted to show. This is a Troy Reader getting a crazy hit here in Rams-Cowboys joint practice here. Take a look. Now, Troy Reader is the Rams' veteran middle linebacker. He went undrafted, but he's been consistent, to say the least, since he's been playing with the Rams. And I saw this, and I was like, good Lord, this is a hell of a hit here. I think the Rams are the favorite in the NFC West. Let me know in the chat whether you agree or disagree. And I'm just going to say this right now. I'm about to talk about a Seahawks player here, but I'm starting to think the Seahawks might be a little bit better than I might have anticipated. I haven't heard anything out of a 49ers camp besides a little bit of frustration with the receiver position and contracts, but I think the Seahawks might be better than people think. I think they have the potential to be better than the 49ers. I believe they open up against the 49ers at Lumen Field in Seattle, so that's going to be a major test for the Seahawks, obviously starting Sam Darnold. And one of the new weapons in Seattle is actually a Colorado State alum, Torrey Horton. He's actually been making a lot of plays here. Here's a quote from Mike McDonald saying, I'm seeing the same thing you guys are. He's making multiple plays every day. And Torrey Horton here, all I've been seeing out of Seahawks camp is, good news about him. He's starting on the depth chart as a rookie. And him, Cooper Kupp, Smith, and Jigba, those are some pretty good weapons for Sam Darnold. Now, it all depends on Seattle's offensive line. In my opinion, especially the tackles. They got Charles Cross at left tackle. They drafted him in the first round. He's been consistent, I'll say. I think he can be better, but I think he's been consistent. At the right tackle position, it's a big question mark. We'll see how Abe Lucas is coming back from injury. I would presume he's starting. I've had a chance to work out with him. He played at Washington State with a few of my former teammates. I think he's a hell of a player, and he's really dealt with a lot of injuries. So if Seattle can figure out their offensive line, in particular at the right tackle position, I think it could go a long way for Sam Darnold and then the two running backs over there, Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet. Something to watch, but Torrey Horton been on fire, and damn, that's something to watch here. He's a hell of a player. One other thing I wanted to watch here and discuss some betting win totals here. I saw this, and I wanted to kind of just react to this here. The most bet over and unders via BetMGM. I'm just going to laugh because Colorado over and unders bet at the most. Personally, if you're asking me, somebody who covers them, I'm taking them over. I think they have a lot of potential this season. I think they have the potential to win double-digit games this season. If they play their cards right. They're well coached, and they're a lot bigger than they were last year, especially in the trenches, especially in the offensive line. If they lead in the run game, they'll definitely get to 6 wins and then some. LSU, over an 8.5. I've been watching them for under, so that's interesting. People are betting that. I would go under. UNC under 7.5. I've been saying on the show, I've been watching over. So just a little tidbit I'll drop here on the show here. Man, it makes me laugh a little bit. But folks, if you're watching, go ahead and hit that like button. Let me know what you think in the chat below. Will Colorado win 6 games? Will North Carolina win 8 games? Interesting. Let me know. Gorgon says Ohio State over. Gorgon, you must be a major believer. You think they could come out week 1 and win against Texas? Ooh, I think Arch Manning is about to take I think Texas is about to take that step up in the SEC and in college football in general, and it starts with a massive win against Ohio State. So I don't know. I don't know about that, Gorgon. Going back to this graphic, Michigan under 8.5. That's interesting. They must not believe in the kid. But in my opinion, put Bryce Underwood on Michigan last year. How much better are they? Because Michigan could run the ball. They just couldn't have they didn't have a quarterback that could play to save their life. So it's just something to consider. And they beat Ohio State. It's something to consider as well. But a lot of people are betting under on Michigan. A lot of people are betting over on Ohio State. I am very cautious to bet over 10.5 on Ohio State, especially when they open up week 1 against Texas. Well, I think Texas probably, you might not agree with this, but I think Texas is about to curb stop Ohio State in week 1. I think Arch Manning sitting behind Quinn Ewers for multiple years developing, and Steve Sarkisian's system is really going to pay off in the long run. And also a tidbit that came out about Arch Manning in the 2026 NFL draft, he will not, according to Archie Manning, he will not be declaring for the 2026 NFL draft. Like I said, quote, Arch isn't going to do that. He'll be at Texas. Archie Manning told Texas Monthly. So that's an interesting tidbit going into the future. That's also an interesting tidbit considering the Browns quarterback situation. So many people think the Browns are just kind of waiting for Arch Manning next year. That's an interesting tidbit. Arch Manning will not be coming out next year, according to Archie Manning. So I don't know. What does that mean for Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel? We're going to have Mary Kay Cabot here joining in a second to discuss that. That's an interesting tidbit. Moving forward here, this has been a great show. We had veteran UNC writer Lee Pace join the show, kind of preview their season, give his thoughts on Michael Lombardi and how he's impacted Coach Belichick and the Tar Heels, and so much more. Man, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to take a brief break. I want to go ahead and show a kind of quick debate between Coach Fred and I about Florida State. Chat, how many games is Florida State going to win this year? Because I think Florida State, personally, is extremely in trouble. We're going to be back in 2 minutes. Hit that like button, subscribe, and become a member of the Bailey Price Media Army today. Castellanos triples down on his viral Alabama comments where he said they don't have Nick Saban to save them. I just don't see them stopping me. Coach Fred, take a listen to this. I mean, as a Seminole, I got to hear your reaction.
Done said some things differently?
Most definitely, but I stand on what I said. Well, we stand on what I said. So I said what I said. We stand on that, and I don't mean no disrespect to none of those guys at Alabama or anything like that. It's just I have confidence in my guys and the work that we've been putting in and preparing and the preparation we've been putting together. So that's all that was. I just no disrespect to those guys, but we stand on what I said.
Ooh. Coach Fred, what's your reaction to seeing that? Thomas Castellanos standing on business.
Bailey, he says no disrespect to those guys, but I said what I said. that was total disrespect.
Yeah,
that was total disrespect. When I saw that, man, I was like, oh man, we've got to do a better job of vetting these things at media day. Because you don't want the kid to get up there and do that. Because not only does it put a target on his back, now we've let sleeping dogs lie, and go from there, man. And just you hadn't done anything there up to this point. You know what I mean? So now you've made the road a little bit harder. So I think I'm going to agree with you on this one, Bailey. That was a total disrespectful miss.
Yeah, 100%. And here I want to show a clip of Thomas Castellanos talk about why he said those comments, and it may provide context or clarity or something to the situation. Coach Fred, take a listen to this.
Young was there. On the real though, like, bro, you watch any interview, like, I don't never talk like that, bro. But like, them boys coming off of 2-10, I just yet install some confidence. You feel me? That's all I'm trying to do.
I'm trying to.
Yeah, you feel me? That's all I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to get some confidence.
Trying to install some confidence. Florida State's in trouble. Coach Fred and I are going to debate that all season. By the way, Coach Fred will be a weekly guest here on Mondays here on Bailey Price Media Live as we do college football review and college football preview as we did last year. We'll be doing that every Monday and Friday this season. Coach Fred, Coach Leroy Frederick, Alcorn State coach will be weekly guest Mondays at 4 p.m. Eastern for college football review starting next week, actually, so that's pretty exciting. I'm seeing all kinds of numbers on Florida State, 4.5, 4, 6. And Josh Faley, become a member. That's all I'll say to you about that. You cracking jokes. Become a member. Man, I can't wait till Mary Kay Cabot joins the show. We're going to break down all things Cleveland Browns quarterback news, all things coverage. Shedeur Sanders is starting tomorrow, and it's make or break for, in my opinion, folks. I think with them bringing in Tyler Huntley, I'm going to ask Mary Kay this, but I think there's a lot on the line for Shedeur. If he plays well, I think it could play really well for him in the future. Also, we got to see how Dylan Gabriel looks. Kenny Pickett, a lot of question marks. But I think going into this is make or break for Shedeur, because if he struggles, I think it's going to be really hard for him going forward. Let me know in the chat whether you agree or disagree. But tomorrow I want to make an announcement here on Bailey Price Media Live. 7 p.m. Eastern when the Browns take on the Panthers. We'll be doing a live watch party here on Bailey Price Media Live. Matt and I did those last season. We're going to do a live watch party. Shedeur Sanders' first start for the Cleveland Browns. So tune in here, 7 p.m. Eastern. Come in, talk shit, react, whatever. I'm going to sit here, kick it, come chill. We're going to do a lot of these going into the season, especially for bigger games, bigger stuff like this. Come and react, talk shit, do whatever. It's going to be a good time. So tune in tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern as I react to Shedeur's first start, preseason start for the Browns against the Panthers. He'll be going against some Panther starters here, which is going to be really interesting. But tune in tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be a hell of a time. I appreciate you all tuning in and supporting. But without further ado, folks, I'm not going to waste her time. This is going to be a great interview and a very, very special honor. Cleveland Browns beat writer for Cleveland.com. She's also a Pro Football Hall of Fame selector, and it's an absolute honor to have her on the show. Mary Kay Cabot joins the show. Mary Kay, can't thank you enough for joining. Happy Thursday. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm doing great. This has been a great show so far. We talked North Carolina Tar Heels football. Now we get to talk some Cleveland Browns quarterback situation, because all kinds of rumors, noise, and headlines have been coming out of Cleveland. And let me ask you, Shedeur Sanders makes his first start for the Browns tomorrow in the preseason opener against the Panthers. And what are the stakes for that? If he goes and performs well, how will that impact his race in the quarterback job? And if he goes and struggles, how will that impact him as well? Go ahead.
I don't think the stakes are extremely high. I think it's a great opportunity for him. I think it's a chance for him to see live action and actually get a start and get thrown into the fire a little bit. But I really don't think that he has enough time to overtake one of the veterans, especially Joe Flacco, for the start on week 1. He hasn't taken a snap yet with the first team offense. So I think that should tell people where this thing stands right now. They're bringing him along slowly and deliberately. He's making great progress and doing a nice job. But for people to think that, he can go from not having thrown one pass yet to Jerry Jeudy to starting a month from today against the Bengals and then going into Baltimore and doing the same, I really think that's a little bit of a long shot.
No, I 100% agree with you. And I think a lot of stuff really is impacted. I'm get your perspective on it. They brought in Tyler Huntley. How does he fit into the quarterback race here? Is it just because they're battling injuries in preseason, or is he actual contender for the quarterback job in the future? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, he's not really a contender for the starting quarterback job. He is someone that they needed to come in here to be a camp arm, a camp body at quarterback, because Kenny Pickett has a hamstring injury. Dylan Gabriel has a hamstring injury. And now they've got these practices coming up next week against the Philadelphia Eagles and the second preseason game against the Eagles. And I don't even know if Kenny or Dylan will be ready for that game or those practices either. As it stands right now, they might not be. So they needed someone else to come in here and really help fill in the blanks and go along with Joe Flacco and Shedeur Sanders.
Okay, so he's a camp quarterback. So that's an interesting note. And you mentioned you don't think Kenny Pickett or Dylan Gabriel will be healthy enough for the next preseason game potentially?
I'm not sure yet. I do know that when Kenny Pickett talked to us the last time, he said that he would have to manage the hamstring for a few weeks after he gets back into action. Well, he hasn't been back into 11 on 11s yet. So once he even does get back into 11s, he's going to have to still take it a little bit easy. That doesn't necessarily say to me, hey, go out and play against the Super Bowl champion Eagles next week. We'll see. I mean, maybe he'll have a really nice turnaround by then, but I don't think they also want to push it. It's a preseason game. I don't know if they would want to risk doing something like that. Now, he might get some 11 on 11s in practice, but just in terms of him playing in that game, I'm not necessarily feeling it right now.
That's an interesting note. And let's go to tomorrow with Shedeur Sanders actually playing. What are your expectations for Shedeur? I think he's going to take a lot of reps tomorrow. I don't know how much of the offense Tyler Huntley has learned. I know he was there in recent years, but I mean, grasping an offense again is tough. What are your expectations for Shedeur starting tomorrow?
Well, I think the expectations for Shedeur are that he'll go out there and he'll do a nice job. I think they're going to keep it fairly simple for him. I think they're going to do the same things with him that they've done in practice and call some plays that they feel that he can do well, some high percentage things. They're not going to try to get too fancy or too crazy. It's preseason. Nobody's game planning or anything like that. They're just going to put him out there with some of the guys that he's been throwing the ball to, and he's been making a lot of completions in practice. So as long as the Panthers don't throw too much at him, he should be able to function pretty well. And the issue with Shedeur to this point hasn't been throwing the ball. He can do that. Everybody knows that. It's really just kind of getting up to speed on getting the plays called in the huddle and sliding protections and calling motions and all the things that you have to do in the pre-snap process.
Definitely. And I mean, I think it was a big opportunity for sure to keep learning. One of my favorite things about the Browns quarterback competition is having Joe Flacco. I got a chance to cover Shedeur last season with Colorado, and I think one of the things he needed going to the NFL was a mentor, somebody who'd been there, done that, and understand a professional system. I think Joe Flacco will have paid dividends to Shedeur and the mentorship. I know Joe Flacco doesn't want to mentor Shedeur, and he's made that clear. But I think leadership by example is going to go a long way for Shedeur. Going back to the Browns quarterback room, you mentioned Tyler Huntley is more of a camp body. Now, will they roster 4 quarterbacks in the season? What is the realistic chance that they do that?
I think there is a realistic chance that they'll do that and that they'll keep these 4 guys, Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders, because those 2 veterans were going to be here, perhaps splitting some of the starting games in the early going, and then they want to develop those young guys. They've shown enough that they're worth more time, more investment, more resources. So I actually could see them keeping all 4 unless someone comes along, makes them an offer they can't refuse.
Okay. All right. So, and then Joe Flacco is the presumptive starter. Your expectations for Joe Flacco, if he goes and he just led the Browns to a playoff run not too long ago. I think there's a lot of potential for success. What are your expectations for Joe Flacco as the expected starter?
Well, I do think Joe will do a nice job. Now, I also think that the Browns would like to see Kenny Pickett get back in this race and really make a battle out of it. And they were kind of hoping, I think, in the beginning that Kenny would be able to nail down that starting job in the early going because they can use his mobility and run some design runs, some keepers and things like that, and get a little bit more creative with their offense. But because he has this hamstring injury right now, and especially for a mobile quarterback, it really tells me that Joe has the inside track right now. I don't know if it'll turn out that way right now. I just think he's got a leg up in the competition, and we'll have to see how that goes. But if he gets out there, he'll hit some explosive plays. He's heating up right now with Jerry Jeudy. He's got already a nice chemistry with some of the other guys on the team. And so I think he should be okay.
Okay, that makes me optimistic for Joe. We'll see if Kenny comes back from his hamstring injury. Mary, it's been an absolute honor having you on my show. My final question for you: you had the honor of receiving the Bill Nunn Memorial Award on Friday, and you made a funny joke. I know it was a joke about Bill Belichick and the Tar Heels. Now, I wanted to ask you on a serious note: what was your reaction of seeing Bill going from NFL to college and coaching, and what are your expectations for him coaching in this era of college football with the transfer portal, et cetera?
Well, Bill has a commitment to excellence in anything that he does. So he's going to be a great coach at the college level. He's going to nail everything. He'll be able to navigate the NIL and all of the things that he's going to have to do, and the transfer portal, and whatever he chooses to do, he is successful at it. I covered him in his first head coaching stint. And although, in my speech, I did talk about how, he gave all of us a hard time in the media back then. And I know it probably wasn't that easy, even when he was with the Patriots, to necessarily get things out of him or whatever. But he also did, some really good things just in terms of trying to do some relationship building. He let me and another, the play-by-play voice of the Cleveland Browns go in and watch some film with him on Mondays. That was an invaluable experience after games. He permitted me to get on the team's private jet with him and other members of the front office to go to a draft visit. And so, even though I talked about some of the rougher times of just trying to deal with getting information out of him, he did go the extra mile in many respects. And I've chronicled that over the years many, many, many times. I didn't have time to fit it all in the speech, but I didn't mean to leave the impression that it was all bad, because it wasn't.
No, I didn't get that impression. I thought it was just a funny joke. And getting that, a story in perspective is really cool, Mary Kay. I really can't thank you enough for joining. It's been an absolute honor getting your perspective on the Browns quarterback situation. Would love to have you back on again soon. And can't wait to see Shedeur tomorrow night starting for the Browns.
Sounds good. Enjoy it.
Thank you for joining, Mary Kay. Shout out to Mary Kay Cabot, Cleveland Browns beat writer, longtime veteran Cleveland Browns beat writer, been doing it a long time. I have a lot of respect for her. Does a hell of a job. She's also a Pro Football Hall of Fame selector. So someone who's been there and done that, a lot of respect to her. And a lot of Colorado fans go at her. I don't know why. You got to respect veterans in the game. I don't understand why Colorado fans go at her so hard. You must not like what she writes. It's unfortunate. Folks, if you're watching, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, become a member. It's been an absolute honor having Mary Kay Cabot join the show. We're going to be live here tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern with a live watch party for Shedeur Sanders' first start against the Panthers in the Browns preseason opener. Now, one thing I want to mention, I saw this on Twitter. Coach Prime is a fool. This makes me laugh. There was a tweet that said Black Twitter on Friday night when Shedeur Sanders completes his first 8-yard slant route. And it was this clip. I mean, is he wrong? Are they lying? I mean, it's about to be the most watched preseason game ever. I mean, you can say what you want about Shedeur Sanders, say what you want about the Browns quarterback situation. A lot of people are about to be watching this preseason game tomorrow. So, folks, tune in here, 7 p.m. Eastern here on Bailey Price Media Live. We're going to be doing a live watch party of Browns versus Panthers, Shedeur Sanders' first start. Also, there's a lot of games going on tonight here. I will note the Seahawks at Lumen Field. Pete Carroll and the Raiders head up to Seattle to take on the Seahawks. That's a game I'm going to be watching. Football is back. You can say what you want about the preseason, say whatever the hell you want. Football is back, and you best believe I'm watching it. You got the Colts and their interesting quarterback situation. I believe Anthony Richardson's going to be opening up as the starter there. Baltimore, who knows who's starting? Definitely not Lamar. Maybe Lamar, I don't know. You got the Bengals and the Eagles. That's interesting, but really the game of the night for me is the Pete Carroll going back to Lumen Field, going back the CenturyLink Field, Quest Field, to all my old Seattle heads who know. Pete Carroll's going back. Geno Smith, from what I understand, is going to be playing a couple drives. That also means we're going to be seeing some Ashton Genty, who he has the potential to tear it up. From what I understand, Seattle is starting Drew Lock at quarterback, and we'll be starting Jalen Milroe, former Alabama product, in the second half. So I'm going to be watching that game. I'm going to be watching Pete's return to Seattle. And we'll be live tomorrow here, 7 p.m. Eastern, watching Shedeur Sanders' first start for the Cleveland Browns in the preseason opener versus the Panthers. Man, this has been a great show, folks. Go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, become a member. I can't thank you all enough for tuning in. Gorjan, Cheer, Chris, everybody else in the chat. This has been a hell of a show. We're going to be live here going on the season, like rapid fire. Coach JB show is going to be off starting on Friday, so tune in tomorrow to the Coach JB show. It's going to be a hell of a final show before we take our final 2 breaks. We're going to be live a lot more here going forward, headed into the season here on Bailey Price Media Live. It's been a hell of a show today, having Lee Pace, Mary Kay Cabot join the show. Man, it's been an absolute honor. That's all I can say. I'm honored to have him on the show. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern for a live watch party of Shedeur Sanders' first start as the Browns take on the Panthers tomorrow night. Thank you for watching, folks. Peace.
Thank you.